Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about resume building. A disclaimer before I start: my opinions are solely based on my experiences of recruitment and from what I've learned from the industry experts. Every company wants the best talent in the market. So, if you want to be hired for your dream job, it is very important that you should be different from the rest of the applicants. The starting point for everything is your resume. If your resume gets shortlisted, then only you would be able to get a chance to appear for the interview. So it is very important that your resume stands apart from the crowd. A resume is just like an advertisement. It should be appealing to an unknown person. You have to mention things in a way you are selling yourself to someone. I have seen candidates coming with their resumes going up to 4 or 5 pages. Resumes of great leaders like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Dr. Pranab Mukherjee is of maximum 1 page, in spite of the fact that they have done so much in life. We definitely haven't done even 10% of what they have done. So, what I feel is our resume shouldn't exceed more than one regular A4 size page at any cost. Always remember, quality matters, quantity doesn't. Everything on your resume that you put must be relevant. Do not just fill space by putting everything you have. Your resume should convince the recruiter that you're the right person for the job. You should customize your resume by including only the relevant information. Do not mention everything, maybe it is relevant, irrelevant, that you have done in your resume. Because recruiters often have a habit of asking questions like, tell me something that is not mentioned in your resume. So if this question comes up and if you have included everything in your resume, then you won't have content for answering this question. Say for example, if you're applying for a core sales job, then there is absolutely no point of including certifications like Java, Python that you would have done. So people usually have a practice of using the same resume for every job they apply, which is a very wrong practice. And this is one of the main reasons why they don't get selected or they don't get calls for the interview. You should challenge yourself by submitting a customized resume every time. If you're adding some certification in your resume, you should know the in and out of it, right from what topics were covered, who conducted the course, to what were your major learnings from that certification. Do not put anything just for the sake of making your resume big. It gives you temporary happiness that your resume looks big, but when you go in the interview and if they ask you questions on that, and if you're not able to justify it or answer it, then it like the recruiter doubts your credibility. Only mention the things that you'll be able to justify. Always remember, interviews are directed the way you want it. Resume is actually an interviewer's way of looking for questions because they personally do not know you. They are seeing you for the first time. So I would like to give you my own example. In my engineering, I had handled a team of 60 plus when I was the editor-in-chief of my university tabloid. And I wanted the interviewers to ask question on that, as that was the area I was most comfortable in. So I decided, why not make a resume that is different from the rest, which would force the interviewer to ask me questions out of curiosity. So the resume that you can see on the left side of your screen is the resume I had designed on Photoshop using eye-pleasing colors. Trust me, in every interview that I attended, the interviewer asked me, how did I make such a colorful resume, which is exactly what I wanted? Because I knew that the ball was in my court if this question came. I linked it with my experience and directed the interview the way I wanted. So now comes the question, what all should your resume include? Resume has a standard format and it is advisable to follow that. Your resume should have your name, gender, contact details, education qualifications, work experience, internships, certifications, positions of responsibility, and extracurricular activities. One common mistake that students usually do is that they put internships under work experience. There are a few unwritten rules that in your internship or work experience, your company's name, as you can see in the second or the first resume, should always be on the left hand side, left aligned and in bold. And the duration should be right aligned. Also, if your resume has tables, then make sure that all the tables are aligned properly. Like it should not be the case that one table is towards the right, the other table is towards the left. It shows an unprofessional attitude. So make sure that all your tables are well aligned, all the bullet points are well aligned, and your resume is everything is well aligned and well formatted. And as far as your education qualifications are concerned, make sure that you include your degree, duration, name of the institute, percentage obtained with the most recent one first. Like suppose if you're doing your MBA, which is your most recent degree, and if you have done your BTech, then first your MBA should come, then your BTech, then class 12, then class 10. It should be in the order of the most recent one. Many candidates have a habit of mentioning their email addresses like raj_rockstar@gmail.com. Trust me, recruiters, when they see it, they won't even look at your complete resume if they find such unprofessional email addresses. These are small things, but it matters a lot. And it tells a lot about your personality because the recruiter haven't seen you personally. They are just judging you based on your resume. And the things that you portray on your resume tells a lot about your personality. So you should refrain from using such unprofessional email IDs on your resume. The email IDs that you addresses that you use should be close to your name, and in that avoid using pet names and nicknames. Most importantly, do not mention email addresses of outdated sites like Hotmail. It creates a very negative impression. If you have some professional experience, work experience, or if you have done some internships, as I told earlier, mention it in a chronological order with the most recent one first. Clearly mention the company name, geographic location, job title, dates of employment, and duties and responsibilities. While you write down the duties and responsibilities, do not write it in a paragraph format. Paragraphs are hard to read on a resume, and sometimes the recruiter gets bored reading long paragraphs. Like if you list down your jobs and roles and responsibilities in your professional experience, and if you have written, suppose say for something like 10 to 12 lines, the recruiter would not even be interested in reading those 12 lines. Instead, what you should do is you should use a you should write it in a short way and use crisp bullet points and highlight the important keywords or the points in bold where you want the recruiter's special attention. And the bullet points that you mention should be easy to read, easy to scan, and easy to identify the key features that you're willing to show the recruiter. Try to include the keywords and phrases, because reports say that while screening a resume, a recruiter decides to accept or reject that resume in just 6 seconds. So the first impression that you create in the mind of the recruiter is very important. If a recruiter sees a long paragraph, you would definitely not be interested in reading that, even though your content may be good, but it won't get the attention. So it is very important that you keep it very crisp. Automation and artificial intelligence have entered recruitment process also. Data shows that Less than 30% of people applying online receive a response, and 50% of the applications are screened out by ATS, that is applicant tracking system. When you apply for a job, your resume isn't typically going to the recruiter directly or the hiring manager in that case. It's first being processed by an ATS. So it is very important that we understand how ATS works. So what happens is ATS analyzes a resume's content into categories and then scans it for specific keywords to determine if the job application should be passed along to the recruiter or not. So it is obvious that a recruiter must have fed those keywords into the system for ATS to analyze, because ATS itself does not have brains. So the recruiter must have fed some keywords after which the ATS analyzes. So if your resume doesn't have those keywords, how much ever good your resume would be, it would be rejected. So in this, do not restrict yourself just to the job description of the company you're applying to. What I would advise you is thoroughly go through the job descriptions of other companies offering same roles. Use keywords and skills required from those JDs also. JD's job descriptions have specifically two types of skill set. The first one is required skill sets, which are mandatory ones, which every candidate is expected to possess. And the second one is the recommended skill sets, which are non-mandatory skill sets, but it would be nice if the candidate possesses those. So it is a very good practice to use keywords of both recommended and required skill sets in your resume. Every person who is applying for the job that you have applied would be fitting in the required skill sets what the recruiter is actually looking at. But people usually don't mention the recommended skill sets. So if you mention both, it increases your chances of getting hired. Interviewers are very keen to know always what you have done in your field apart from your regular studies, which the rest of the candidates haven't. So under extracurricular activities, you can mention about your memberships and affiliations with different organizations of your field. For example, for mechanical engineers, there is SAE, that is Society of Automotive Engineers. For chemical engineers, there is ICHME, that is Institution of Chemical Engineers. For HR professionals, there is SHRM, that is Society for Human Resource Management. Such memberships show your ability to take initiatives, your willingness to learn something new, and it also shows your ambition, and most importantly, sets you apart from the crowd. Ensure that you put only relevant memberships and affiliations of your work domain. Avoid listing memberships related to your race, religion, or marital status. Recruiters aren't interested in that. They just want to know what have you done apart from your regular studies in your specific work domain. A few tips from my end. Freshers usually have a complaint that the resume is too small. So what I would advise you all is try to do as many internships as you can so that you have enough content to speak during your interviews. While you're in college, it is advisable to do different live projects in different domains. Say for example, you are doing your MBA. It is recommended to do live projects in marketing, operations, HR, and finance. Having knowledge of each field is very much necessary in a VUCA world right now. If some company is looking out for candidates who have an exposure of marketing and HR, you can put those two live projects of marketing and HR you have already done while sitting for that interview. It would definitely give you an upper edge over the rest of the candidates. Depending on the job requirements, you can add or remove accordingly the live projects you have done. So if there is a company coming in for marketing and HR knowledge related jobs, then you can put that and you can remove the finance and operations live projects that you have done. So depending on the job requirements, you can accordingly tailor your live projects accordingly, like add or remove them. And whenever you send your resume or upload your resume online, Make it a point that you always use a PDF format. Never send a Word file of your resume. If you're Because the reason is that if you have made your resume in Office 2016 and if your recruiter is using Office 2000, the entire formatting and the layout that you have done would change in your recruiter's computer when he opens it in Office 2000. So the best practice is to convert your Word files into PDF and then only send it. And your resume should have a margin size of minimum 1 inch. And if you feel that your CV is still small, then you can increase the margin size by little. So that would show, it would be portrayed as if your resume looks big. There are some standards that the industry follows, like the font size that you should use in your resume should be Times New Roman. The standard font size is 12, and this for the section headers you can use 13 or 14. Section headers as you can see the second resume, the academic achievements, professional experiences, internships and projects, certifications, then awards and achievements. These are all are section headers. So in this you can use a font size of 13 or 14. So recruiters have a habit of making background checks by going through a LinkedIn profile before they interview you. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is updated regularly. The photo you put on your LinkedIn profile should be a professional one. Ensure that you don't use SMS language anywhere on LinkedIn. Be very cautious about the content you post or the content you like or comment. Recruiter would be able to see your entire activity. Never engage yourselves into arguments on LinkedIn. Remember that there is a very thin line between an argument and a discussion. But I would advise you to participate in healthy discussions, but not arguments. And LinkedIn also has a feature of recommendations. So try to get recommendations on LinkedIn. It matters a lot. By this, I do not mean to say that tell your friends to recommend you, and do not just fill your profile with hundreds of recommendations. Again, quality matters, quantity doesn't. Getting recommendations from people who directly managed you, that is your bosses, mentors, etc., that only matters. You can ask those people who manage you to give recommendations based on some specific tasks that you did which they liked. Ask them to be specific, then only it would matter. Recruiters also know that candidates never reveal their true selves on LinkedIn. So for that reason, they check your Facebook and Instagram profiles. If you feel that your profile has any such objectionable content, we all know what comes under objectionable content. So in that case, you should delete that content or untag yourself from it. And I would advise you to keep your profile private rather than public. Until that person, that is the recruiter, becomes your friend, he or she won't be able to view anything. The reason for doing all this is very simple. If I am a recruiter, I know the amount invested in hiring an individual. I wouldn't be willing to waste the time, energy, and the money on a person who probably might create nuisance in the future in my organization. This is all from my end. I hope whatever I told was fruitful and would add some value to your life now. Now I would request Pratiksha to continue.
So Derek covered the part one of hiring process very nicely. Now let's move on to cover the part two of it, that is how to master common interview questions. So interview preparation can become a very daunting task, and the problem here is just like CVs need to be customized for every other job position, we need to prepare for every interview in a different way. Luckily, we have some common interview questions which most of the recruiters will ask, and here I'll be covering a few of them. But before I begin, I would like to tell you that these answers were collected from MBA graduates of these schools, and these answers may vary from person to person. So let's begin. Derek, could you please change? Yeah. So before we begin, we need to understand and look at these basic core questions. That is what the interviewers look for. The interviewers always look for a person who is very unique. This is because for a single job position, more than 500 people or candidates apply. So you need to show them how unique you are, and that's what will get you hired. Your aim should be that you should answer the question, why should we hire you? You should show your enthusiasm for the organization as well as for the role. Now, the second question is you should know which type of interview you are interviewing for. It could be an MBA or college admission interview process or an entry level position. So, in such cases, you could talk more about the certifications, courses, or even any internship which you have done during your college or any other time. And while applying for a middle level position, what you could do is you could talk more about your work experience over the past 5 or 3 years. The third question here is understand who is taking the interview. So basically, in an interview panel, there are 2 or 3 people who conduct the interview. So it could be like one person is from the HR manager who is looking at your basic qualifications, your interests, and the cultural fit. The second person could be your supervisor who wants to gauge your proficiency levels of the skills and the commitment level. And the third person could be a co-worker who wants to check your work ethics and your team management skills. So these are a few questions which you should keep in mind. And the last thing which you should keep in mind is that you should understand the company thoroughly. You can do this by checking on their websites, their social media profiles, and releases. And yes, or one more important thing is that you should also understand the J. So after this, we could begin with the first question, that is, tell me about yourself. So the employers here want to know more about your personality. They want to know how well you would respond to an unstructured question. So it's not just limited to this question, but any other question which you will be answering. These are the 4 things which you should keep in mind. Be very clear, be very honest, be engaging, and use storytelling. This is because storytelling is something which will keep the whole process of interview very engaging. So, talking about this specific question, tell me about yourself. I would say that never give examples about your past career path because it's already there on the resume, right? Here, you should focus on how you acquired the skills, how much you learned, what new things you learned, rather than just mentioning what you learned. So, could you just move on to the next slide? Yeah. So this is how I would answer this tell me about yourself question. I've highlighted some of the important points in red. So I began with telling a story like from a very early age I've been a kid who dives into uncertainty. And this uncertainty has inspired me to qualify for national level football championship. And then I moved on to say that all these things being qualified for national level football championship has taught me team building skills, ability to work under stress. That is here I'm focusing more on the key skills which I have. I also talked about the leading my internship at one of the leading big fours. I told that I learned that I'm good at networking and strategic thinking over here. I also talked about the social responsibility committee which I was a part of, and that has taught me the importance of being humble. So basically, what I did over here is I highlighted the things which I learned rather than what I learned. So this is how you could answer. Tell me about yourself. The next question is tell me about your strengths and weakness. This is the most one of the most common questions which all the interviewers will ask. So while answering such questions, they want to check the exact balance you have between humility and being confident. They want to see how honest and self-aware you are. So I would say while answering such questions, give 2 to 3 relevant examples. And one of the most important thing is never ever fake these answers because these interviewers are so experienced that they'll catch you because follow-up questions will be there. Talking specifically about strengths, I would say that you should know very well about the performance metrics of your job role. So suppose if I'm applying for an HR role, what I would talk about here is I would give an example about my internship experience. I would say that I recruited a team of 11 people in 1 week with zero attrition and 8.5 plus performance score. Here I've tried to quantify the results which I had done during my internship. So this is how you could approach, and similarly you can use 2 or 3 other examples which could show how skillful you are. The next question is, tell me about weakness. So talking specifically about this, you should focus more on how you can quickly improve. You should analyze a JD first, pick out the skills that are irrelevant and or any other skill which can be easily learned. So, for example, if I'm interviewing for a consultant role, then I cannot speak that my weakness is analytical skills or problem solving skills. But I could definitely speak something like the inability to say no. And I could talk about how I plan to improve it by being more assertive. I could show them that how I have improved over the past few years by giving some examples. So this is how you could answer, tell me about your weakness. The next question is why are you interested in our company? So the interviewers want to understand what prompted you to apply. They want candidates who know the job well and are keen on learning. They don't want somebody who is indifferent with the job position. So the three main reasons why they could ask this question could be they might want to understand the level of enthusiasm you have for the role as well as for the organization. They might also want to check the understanding of your understanding of the position, or they might also want to check whether your long term goals are aligned with the company's goals. So in such cases, if they want the candidate which they recruit to stay in the organization for a longer duration of time, that's why they need to check the long term goal alignment as well. So while answering this question, what you could do is you could address all these three questions in your answers. You could talk about how you would benefit them first, and then gradually move towards how what you will learn. Or you could talk about your personal goal after that. The researchers, what you can do is you could research the websites. You could do a thorough research on the LinkedIn profile of the employees who are currently employed over there. You can have a check or look at the skills and qualifications which they have so that you get a better understanding of the job role. So the next question would be, why should we hire? Now this is the time when you should talk more about yourself. This question, in this question, the interviewer wants to check your persuasion skills and your convincing skills. They might get very blunt with you. They might be very rude to you, but this is just to check how calm you are, and in turn they want some compelling and factual answers and not some made up stories. So you could speak here about relevant core strengths using examples. You could use the observations and the feedbacks which your previous colleagues and superiors gave, and you could talk about why do you like the culture. So the main reason which will make you stand out from the rest of the candidates would be the cultural fit. You could give state it by giving examples that how you like the culture and what makes you fit in, right? You could check more about the cultural page, cultural the you could check more about the culture by looking at the social media platforms or even the company website. And yeah, definitely you need to show excitement. And this is more about you. You can focus more on your strengths and your abilities. So that's how you could answer this question, why should we hire you? So while handling this question, what you could do is you could highlight what is good in the organization. You could you could convince them how you would make things better. But remember, be humble while talking. You should not act like you're criticizing or being offensive. Just be humble and talk about how you could improve the things at their organization. And you could also make a few recommendations which are realistic. So if this isn't possible, like if you're not able to answer it in that way, you could do one more thing. What you could do is you can talk about your journey in the coming 90 days. In the first, you could talk about the things you'll be doing in the first month, second month, and the third. So the first one, what you could do is you can focus more on absorbing, learning, and listening. The second month, you could focus more on implementing, carrying out the tasks, testing, and trying them. And in the third one, you can focus more on delivering, producing tangible results, and adding values. I feel that if you answer this month-wise timeline, then the recruiters might feel that you have a clear vision of your purpose in this company. So let's talk about the seventh question, that is, when have you gone above and beyond at work? So basically, this question is in this question, the recruiters want to gauge what challenging actually means to you. They want to see how you turn a bad story into a good one by being calm. So the basic approach which you could use over here is the SAR method. That is, you could first talk about the situations, the problems, and the issues which you faced. Then you could move forward by talking about the actions which you did. So you could talk about the course of actions which you followed, and finally you could talk about the results. I would say firstly start by talking about the positive results, and then even if there are some negative results, you can speak about them. But yeah, while talking about the negative results, do talk about how you plan to improve on making sure that the things go better next time. And then you could also talk about, tell them how you exceeded using some of the relevant examples. And yes, they want to see over here, they want to check over here how good you are as a self motivator member, a member of the team, right? So you could give some examples that how you motivated yourself during the challenge, and how did you become successful. And I would say that you could use some action words like I managed, I consulted, I implemented, I persuaded, something like that. If you did something all alone, or you could also use something like we managed, we implemented, we persuaded, if that was a team work. So that's how you could answer this question. And the eighth question could be, tell me about the time when you managed a team successfully. They want to check your leadership skills and decision making skills over here. So again, use the SAR method. Start by speaking about the situation, the actions, and the results. Talk about your leadership style. It can be authentic. You can be a servant leader. You can be a charismatic leader. You can be a goal oriented or a people oriented. Just have you should have some knowledge regarding these leadership terms and try to give examples and tell them where you fit in exactly. And I would also tell that I would also suggest you that you could mention about a time when you voluntarily took up some leadership role. You could tell them how you managed the schedules, how you managed your time, how did you plan, how did you organize the task, and finally you could end it by talking about the end results. And yes, obviously you'll have to give some credits to your teammates because of them you were able to work, right? So finally, the last question which the interviewer could ask is, any questions for us? This is the last question which most of the interviewers could ask you. So basic motive behind this question is they want to check how well researched you are about the organization as well as for the job. They want to check how curious you are. So I would say that you should never say no to this question because it would give a very bad impression. Like even if the whole interview went right, saying no to this question will spoil it. I feel like that. So what you could do over here is simply ask a question to each of the candidates, one question to each of the candidate related to the job. And if you feel that in the past during the interview time, if you feel that you did not do well in any of the question previously, so this is a very good opportunity for you to re-engage in that question. And you could ask the interviewer about, you could request the interviewer to throw a light upon it. So one more thing I would like to say over here is you could avoid a no-brainer question or the ones which are related to salary and benefits, because if you ask a question related to compensation or salary, it might come out then that you are more interested in compensation, like you're not working your passion. So that might create a negative impact. So you could ask questions like, how is the work-life balance? How success is measured, how engagement activities are conducted, what do they do for mindfulness. So in my since I was a member of the social responsibility committee in my college, I asked a question which was more related to the social activities which the organization conducts. There was a day which they celebrated. I asked a question upon that, and I told them to give me some more insights on that part. So yeah, basically, these are the top 9 questions which you guys might which the recruiters might ask during the interview process. So yeah, we are done with it. Do you have any questions regarding the whole webinar? Like any doubts, any question which you want us to throw some light upon?